It's the 1690s, and the seas of the world are swarming with pirates. But there's one name which stands out from all others.
They come over in you!
Captain William Kidd. A pirate so villainous that he almost destroyed the British Empire.
Bang it, players!
He was executed just down there at Execution Dock on the banks of the Thames on the 23rd of May, 1701, and this pub still bears his name. In many ways, Kidd was an unlikely pirate. Born in Scotland, he then moved to New York, which was then a small English colony. He'd had a successful career as a sea captain and married a rich widow, so becoming one of the richest men on the colony, owning a substantial part of Wall Street. But then, at the age of 41, Kidd suddenly upped sticks, kissed his wife goodbye and headed off to England to try and become a captain in His Majesty's Navy. The Navy didn't fancy him, but he found himself a better job, that of a pirate hunter in the Indian Ocean. 6 years later, his name was Mud and his neck was in the noose.
I wasn't a pirate or a villain. No matter what they say, I put a rope around my neck. I was a pirate hunter sent to the East Indies to rid the sea of scum.
Yeah, right. So if that's the case, how come you ended up on the gallows?
I met scum, I sailed with scum. I ended up my clothes stinking of scum. But rope or not, I claim my heart was never that of a pirate, no matter what crimes that were painted on it.
In 1697, when Captain William Kidd, pirate hunter, set sail for the East Indies, England was sowing the seeds for what was to become the British Empire. At that time, we didn't really have much of an empire. It was just a few trading stations doing good business with the Indian and Arab merchants of the Arabian Sea. But one thing threatened them all. Pirates. It all kicked off in 1690 when a ship from New York, the Jacob, took 4 ships in the Indian Ocean. The crew returning to the colony with about £500,000 apiece in today's money. Once the word got out, pretty much every pirate worth his cutlass was upping anchor and heading east. Even better, there was no one out there to stop them. Back then, the Navy was a bit tied up with the regular ding-dongs they were having with the French, leaving the pirates to have a free-for-all. And it was that free-for-all that Captain Kidd was going to sort out.
The scum of the Caribbean was heading out there, you see, a new hunting ground for them all. No ship was safe in or out. And the money those rogues were getting, man, it was unbelievable.
And you were going to take from the pirates?
You're not as stupid as you look. You see, me and my backers were going to put in £6,000 to send me pirate hunting, and we reckoned that with just two ships, mind, we'll come back with £100,000. A tempting offer, do you not think?
What Captain Kidd was a privateer, a captain in charge of a privately owned warship run for profit. A neat idea for cash-strapped governments to expand their navies on the cheap. Check out that one there. That one cost about $3 billion. That was a bit cheaper. That'd be about $1.5 billion. Used in anger, there's a good chance that all that money's straight down to the bottom of the sea. But bring in the private sector, so to speak, let them build their ships and go to war for you, and everybody's happy. Except the enemy, that is.
The men backing me were the finest of the fine. Look, lords, every one of them.
No riffraff, then?
But no spines either, as I was later to find out.
And they gave you a ship?
Aye, but there was money from my poke as well. The Adventure Galley she was. The gentleman put in £6,000 and I put in the rest. My own design. Built at the Castle Shipyards in Deptford. 34 guns and a crew of 140.
And what are these here?
The difference between life and death. Oars. No wind, and we can move. The prize just sitting there waiting for us to come in and take him.
And you in command of the lot?
This was not just a command, son. This was a command sanctioned by the King. I was above the law, so to speak. Not that our friends in the Royal Navy saw it that way.
What Kidd's backers got him was a letter of marque from the Admiralty, which is like a kind of licence. For £500, he can attack any French or enemy ship that he comes across. But he also got this, a letter from the king, which is a bit dog-eared, but basically it's the authority to hunt pirates. It even mentions some of them specifically: Captain Thomas Dew, John Ireland, Captain Thomas Wake and Captain William Mays or Mace, and associated pirates, freebooters and sea rovers. What we had here was one posh sea policeman, rich, well-connected and powerful, but he was also a pompous idiot who some wanted to knock back down to size. Kidd's pride in his personal backing from the king got him into trouble before he'd even left London. Tradition has it that when a British ship passes a Royal Navy ship, it dips its flags in salute. On the 26th of February 1696, the Adventure Galley sailed down the Thames and passed the home fleet. But not only did Kidd not dip his flags, but his men decided to salute in quite a different way. That's right, mooning has a long history.
Stuffed shirts, the lot of them. Couldn't take a joke.
You got in trouble.
The dogs boarded me before I got out of the Thames. Half my men were marched off to join His Majesty's Navy.
What, they could do that then?
Blaggers could do what they wanted, but without men I could do nothing.
Kidd got some of his men back from the Navy, but not enough. Now, a ship like the Adventure Galley might look complex with all its ropes and twines. I mean, I wouldn't have a clue, but it only took about 20 men to sail her. So why did Kidd need 140 men? The answer lies down below. Cannons. When a ship like this is in action, each gun needs 5 people to fire it. The first job is to cool the barrel with a swab of cold water. If you don't do that, when you spoon the powder in, it'll blow up, prematurely taking the gunner's arm off. As soon as the powder's poured, cotton wadding is rammed down before the cannonballs rolled in. Then the whole crew pull the gun forward into the port before the fuse is lit, sending up to 16 pounds of shot at around 500 miles per hour, smashing into her target. At full whack, a good crew could fire and reload in under 90 seconds. But without enough men to fire a pistol, let alone man his guns, Kidd first headed to New York, where he'd lived for years, to pick up more crew, free from Royal Navy interference.
Have a look at this pamphlet I had printed looking for crew. The deal was they got a percentage of the bounty. No pirates sunk, no money in the poke.
So they got to share only a quarter of the prize?
Aye.
Minus £6 charge for weapons and more for food.
We're not a charity.
Yet if a man lost an eye or a leg, he'd get 600 pieces of 8 or 6 slaves.
As was the tradition.
And the same for you.
I got 40 times that of my men, but if I came back with no prize, then I had to pay my backers the cost of the ship plus 20 grand.
So no pressure then?
No.
Crewed up, Kidd finally left for the Indian Ocean on the 6th of September 1696. But by the time they'd reached Madagascar 5 months later, 40 of his men were dead, but not a shot had been fired. The main killer was this lot here, food. With no way of storing it, anything green would go off within a week of leaving port, so the daily diet was this. Oh! Salt meat, beef or pork or something like that. So the crew was split up into messes, and the quartermaster would give the crew member his named bag with his salt beef in it, and he would take it down to the cook to boil up. And it stinks. The other food was this: rock-hard biscuits or hardtack, which were very often filled with weevils. Lovely. Plenty of calories, but very little vitamin C. So if the food didn't get you, within a couple of months, you'd be half dead with the scurvy, teeth falling out and tongue all swollen up. Worse than that was the water. Kept in barrels in the hold, it ended up looking like this. Green, with algae. So what the sailors did was, they would split it 50-50 with rum and call it grog. But the trick was to sift it through your teeth and keep all the algae and green stuff on the outside. Even with the alcohol, bad water and poor sanitation was the cause of the other great killer on the ship, the bloody flux, or anemic dysentery. Those two little sweeties wiped out a third of Kidd's crew by the time they got to Madagascar. But that was just the start of his problems. Captain Kidd, pirate hunter with a license to kill signed by the king himself, finally reached his hunting ground in January 1697.
5 months, 40 men dead, and half the rest down with the bloody flux. Not a bad wee trip, you might say.
But although he didn't know it, his voyage was already